Hi, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I want to say something about the new book coming out, but first I want to touch on a couple of kind of housekeeping things from a couple of previous videos to touch on. First on the mulberries, Steve over at Corsair Trainers said that his wife, I guess, had some allergies, and that mulberries might not be good for her. So I wasn't aware of any potential allergen problems from mulberries, but you might check that. I know that the white ones, or if they're not if they're not fully ripe, they can be hallucinogenic, so you don't want to be doing that. Or maybe you do, but I wouldn't suggest it. And also, I had not, so that got me looking up a little bit about it, and I read, and I had not realized that the stems, and of course I eat them anyway, like I said in that, but they said the stems is where much of the what's it called, resveratrol, I think that is what it's called, the really good stuff for you is in the stems. So I just cooked them up and I ate the stems anyway. I figured what harm could it do, you know, give you a little roughage, but as it turns out, yeah, they are edible and they're very good for you. On the flashlight video that I put out yesterday, I got a couple of, well, quite a few comments from Scott. Thank you, Scott. I'm sorry I didn't have time to get back to answer all of your comments. You got into a lot of detail on that, and sometimes I just don't have time. So you know, I do the best I can. My son had also told me about the Costco flashlights that he said he had heard were very good. So that's great. Anything like that we can pass on is always good. But I did want to say one thing. One of the points I was making in that was you know, rechargeable batteries. Yeah, they're good, but there's a reason that I don't depend on them. And one of the points that I was making in that was the more technologically dependent a system is, the less I want to have to depend on it in a grid down situation. You know, so when you're talking about rechargeables, yeah, I think that they're great until, you know, something goes wrong with them, or all of a sudden something goes wrong with, you know, your ability to recharge them, and then you're kind of stuck. So nothing wrong with rechargeables at all. You know, could be your first line of you know, supply, but that's why I stock the regular old batteries. They'll last for a long time, and you've got enough to worry about just keeping your flashlights, you know, okay during a grid down situation. I don't want to have to worry about recharging capabilities. So that was and also another thing about the I was kind of stressing the point that I don't really care about having a flashlight that will, you know, like I said, be 10 times brighter than the sun. If I have to go up against somebody, and I do have some experience in this, if I have to go up against somebody in a low light level environment, I would much rather go up against somebody who is relying on his flashlight than somebody who is comfortable in low light environments. And there's a number of reasons for this, and maybe I'll get into it. I don't want to get into it right now because my cameraman is flashing me the minute marks, and I have something else I want to get to. But I'm going to cover this in quite a bit of detail in the book, the nonfiction book that I'm writing, Integrative Preparedness, and it has to do, while there's upsides for flashlights and using high intensity lights in a low light environment. There's some downsides too, and I don't think that those are discussed very much anymore. But like I say, I've had some experience in going into dark places and bringing people out, and you know, the more that you rely on your light, the less you rely on your other senses, and they can be very important. Very often in a dark place, you can hear somebody, smell somebody, even sense somebody before your light will ever pick them up, and if you've got your light on, they'll see you coming. So anyway, that's enough on that, and I'll do more get into more detail about that in the book. Mainly what I wanted to say here is yesterday I got in the proof copies of the Renewal, and this is the third book of the, he's telling me get it up higher. Okay, thumbs up. It must be in the right frame now. The Renewal is the third book in the Stonemont series. And what happens now, and actually this will be the final book in the Stonemont series, because the next book, which I've already started on, is in a new series, and I'm not going to give away the name or the series name on that yet, but that's already, I'm already working on that. But what happens now is I get the proof copies in, and I give them to my proofers, and then I start going through it, and they start going through their copies, and I look at every page to where I want to change something, and I dog-ear the pages, and I'm only up to about page 35 so far, and I try to catch my typos, and then I catch all the things to where I want to change the order of a couple of words around, and something that I want to interject, and a place where I need to put in a paragraph, separation and things. And so far I don't think I've got to a page yet to where I don't have at least one or two changes that I want to make. And so that's the process in going through and putting out a book. And it's a little bit, I don't know, I was going to say that it's more to it than most people would think, but maybe not. Maybe everybody can understand it. But it's a very interesting process after I get done writing the whole book, and that takes some time. And of course I put a lot of thought into it, and then I put more thought into the second round, and just kind of buffing it up and trying to make it everything that I want it to be. And so anyway, I know a lot of people are waiting for this to come out, and I think this process should just take a couple of weeks. So hopefully we will beat our July 1st deadline for having this available on Amazon and other great bookstores if you would like to order it through them. And I know that I guess some libraries are starting to get it in. I don't know. If you want to ask, I've learned this. I'm not as smart as I should be when it comes to marketing and promoting the books, but apparently if you go to your library, if you don't want to buy it, and I'd love you to buy it, if you don't want to buy it and you go to your library, you can ask them to order these books and see if they'll get them in for you. And all you need is the ISBN number. You can get that by going to Amazon and go to either the Reversion or the Revival Stonemont series, and that will come up, and somewhere on that page will be the ISBN number. And if for whatever reason you don't want to order it from Amazon, you can ask your local bookstore to order it in for you. I'm sure that they'll be happy to do that. But anyway, if you don't know what the series is about, it's about the collapse. It's about, and I won't give away exactly what happened, but the total collapse of the country, and the rebuilding of society, the rebuilding of communities. It is about preparedness, the result of good preparedness, and we get a look at what happens to people who aren't prepared either. But it's kind of a roadmap to how do we come back from a total collapse of the systems. And if you're interested in that, I think that you'll enjoy this. Go on Amazon, look at the reviews, see what other people think of it, and I do suggest one thing: if you're going to read them, make sure that you read the first and the second one in that order, and then this one, because as I put in the beginning, sequels, you have a choice as to whether to write them so that they stand alone, which means you got to reintroduce, and this is Bob, who was Mary's husband, who did this and that, and that just drives me insane. I can't stand books that reintroduce situations and characters that I've already read. It screws up the continuity of the story. I just don't like it. So I have written these books so that they are meant to be read in order. And because if you just read this one without reading the first two, I don't know, you might like it, but you won't get near out, you won't understand it like you would otherwise, and it's really meant to be a continuous story of preparedness, survival, and the rebuilding of a society according to the principles and the values that and I know many of you hold in common. So anyway, that's all I wanted to tell you today. I'll be working hard on this. That should be out in in a few weeks, and it's a beautiful day here. It's Saturday, so I hope you all are having a wonderful Saturday. I'm going to do some more. Also, the kids and I went out and picked mulberries earlier today, and I'll have my guru stick a picture of what we got in right here. Okay, now you're back, and I'll just tell you to have a great day, and remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. Have a great one. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.